16 with these free printables from the resource library at Devotion in Action. And I've already traced with pencil the large format traceable in my Dayspring Illustrating Bible here. And you can see that you just place the paper underneath there and trace it. Very, very simple. And then I'm going to pull that one out and put just a scratch sheet of paper underneath here in case I watercolor over the edge of the page. That way it kind of protects the page underneath that. And today, this verse, 1 Corinthians 16, 13 through 14, is be alert, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong, do everything in love. I'm using a little palette of watercolors here, and this one thing I really love about watercolor, when you use it from the tubes in a palette, you can just let it dry out and then add water to reactivate that color. I'm going to add some black on here because this shark is going to be grays and blacks and whites, and then I'll obviously need some blues, perhaps a little green for the water. And I think I might make that snorkel yellow. My snorkel that I used in Florida last week was yellow, and so thought I might try that. I just got back from my beach vacation, and while we were there, we decided to try out snorkeling. My husband and son actually did like a scuba discovery class to try out that and see what it was like, and we just fell in love with it. We absolutely loved snorkeling. They love scuba diving, and just had a wonderful time at the beach. And one of the things that I noticed as we were snorkeling is that you kind of get lost in your own little world. You can't see, very much further than the things that you're looking at, the plant life and the animal life that you're looking at right in front of you. And so there are dangerous things, obviously, in the Gulf of Mexico, even in the Bay, between the peninsula that we were staying on and the mainland. Either place, you're in the wild, basically, in the water, and there are dangerous things. Maybe not great white sharks that close to shore, but there are dangers inherent in diving and snorkeling in the wild, and in the open water. And you have to be vigilant, not fearful, not scared of everything, but vigilant of what could be there. And that made me think about this idea of being alert, standing firm in the faith, and watching what is happening around you in our spiritual lives and in our everyday lives, when we're not on vacation, when we're not snorkeling or swimming or relaxing on the beach or building sandcastles and things. In our normal everyday lives, there's definitely an element of being alert that we need to have in our spiritual lives. Sharks are fascinating creatures, and my family and I absolutely love watching Shark Week every year on Discovery Channel. We love to learn about them, and it's always fun to see the experiences that are filmed with the sharks on Shark Week. We actually got to see on our beach vacation some little sharks when we were just in the shallow part of the water, which was kind of fun, seeing sharks and some stingrays, lots of crabs and different types of ones, horseshoe crabs and blue crabs and sand crabs. It was actually fun to watch all of God's creatures interacting in the water. Sorry, I have a little bit of a scratchy throat. I think it's all the seawater and the swimming and everything, in and out of air conditioning, and allergies coming back to the Midwest. But it was very fun to get to see these creatures, these sharks, in their own habitat. Now, the ones we saw were very small, and they were not dangerous to us in any way. But there are some large sharks that can be extremely dangerous. And you have to be aware when you're in the water about them. Well, God has designed a fun, beautiful, and exciting life doing what He's called us to do here on earth for us. But that doesn't mean that it's without danger. Satan is on the prowl trying to disrupt that abundant life that God has planned for us. We have to be alert. Like I said, not fearful, but very aware of the traps that the devil is lurking in the shadows of the deep water and in the shallows beyond our grasp with evil plans. One of the most common ways that Satan tries to sneak up on us and attack us is through our thought lives. Many, many thoughts pop into our heads every single day, every hour, every minute. We get lots of thoughts popping in. And most people seem to think that every thought that pops into their head is valid. They embrace those thoughts and spend time with them, rolling them over in their minds, kind of inviting them in for tea and sitting down to relax with them. But not all thoughts are God-honoring thoughts. Some of those thoughts are traps from the devil, lies that we accept at face value. When these thoughts enter our mind, thoughts like, I'm a failure, or I've sinned too much to be forgiven, I could never fill in the blank, my misery is their fault, they have it so much better than I do, this thing is impossible, if only I had what they have, I'd be happy. Those kinds of thoughts and more, thoughts of anxiety or worry, they distract us from the mission our Creator has planned for us. We're ensnared by bitterness, jealousy, regret, self-loathing, and doubt when we accept those thoughts at face value and make them a part of our lives. However, if we keep a watch on the waters of our minds, we expel the thoughts that are not of God, and we replace them with Scripture and truth, we can avoid the dangers that are designed by the devil, and we can embrace the beauty of this life and the joy of eternity with our Savior without fear. We can live a life of love and strength and courage and faith if we will keep watch. And here you see I've been watercoloring this image that is the traceable. And sharks are kind of white on the underbelly typically and dark on the top. And so you want to create that kind of darker level on the top of the shark and lighter on the bottom. If your watercolor is still wet when you bring another color next to it, it will bleed into it. That's why you keep seeing me dab up with the paper towel, different things, so that black doesn't run too far off the shark. I don't mind. I don't have to have very crisp edges when I watercolor. I actually kind of like a little bit of messiness, I guess, bleed over. I think it looks nice. But you have to be a little bit careful. And I think that this snorkel is just a wee tad bit too bright and monochromatic. It has just one color in it. So I want to add a little bit of a darker yellow in there, create some shadowing and make it look less monochromatic and more realistic. It's not super realistic. This particular drawing is a little bit less realistic and more suggestive of the theme, like we're keeping a watch when those sharks are circling in our minds, those thoughts that want to distract us and bring us off the path that God has for us and keep us from focusing on the beauty that God has surrounded us with, the things that we should be thankful for. I'm adding a little bit darker. I wanted that darker, the top of the shark to be even darker than it was. And sometimes you have to let that gray or black dry before you can see how dark it actually is. So I'm gonna let that dry for just a minute so I can see how it's drying out. Maybe hit it with the heat tool like I'm doing because I'm impatient. and see how it dries out. Add more darkness to the top of the shark if you need to. And in fact, one of the tricks that I've learned is when I want something to dry out more evenly in a darker color, I actually keep that heat tool going and just put a little bit of color on my brush and do it while I am drying the picture. And that keeps it from settling too much into pools on the page. Bible pages tend to be, when you watercolor them on them, crinkly. And I love that. I actually really like crinkly pages. I think I'm a texture person at heart, and I think that they're really cool. But sometimes it makes the watercolor pool and land in places where you don't really want it to. This is just a Pigma Micron black pen. Because I am lining out after watercoloring when everything is dry, I can use this kind of pen. If I'm going to line out before I watercolor, I want to use an India ink, like a Pitt Artist pen by Faber-Castell. And those are the ones I normally use, but I grabbed this one because it was already dry. These are what I started with in Bible art journaling. I used them when I was doing a lot of colored pencil work, or just drawings in my Bible, and so I have these kind of sitting around, and since I hardly ever use them, I thought I'd use some of that supply. And since, like I said, once the paint is dry, it doesn't matter what kind of black pen you use. If I had used this before watercoloring, then as I watercolored, the water would have reacted with the black and made smudgy black lines. So it really is best, if you're going to use these kind, to wait until after you have watercolored, so that you don't get really smudgy, smeary black lines around things. I'm just tracing over those pencil lines of the drawing with this black. And I don't know if you noticed when I was watercoloring that I took a very light blue and did kind of sideways swipes on what would be the glass of those snorkels, but I didn't want it as blue. I wanted it kind of reflective, looking like there's glass there, but I didn't want it as blue as the water around it. So in this video, it looks a little white, but in reality, I can see streaks of a light blue on that. I want a kind of scary looking letters here, and I'm going to pay attention to the space that I have and fill that space with those letters, and just create block capital letters basically that are more vertical than horizontal. And then I'm going to make a jagged second line over the top of it, and that I like the effect that has for this. And then just the hashtag Beach and Bible. I would love for you to put that hashtag as you share your images or thoughts about this devotional. Catch the full devotional on the website, and be sure to join the Facebook group and join in with this summer series, Beach and Bible, at devotioninaction.com. I hope you've enjoyed this and that you give it a try yourself. Don't forget to grab that free printable. Those watercolors are Daler Rowney. They're just from Walmart. They're very inexpensive, and they work pretty well for Bible art journaling. So here it is. Have a great day, and thanks so much for watching.